Hello, beautiful, beautiful fam. Welcome back. I actually want to tell you a really funny story before we get into the podcast. I was just talking away, doing my thing, got this all up, right? I'm super, super excited. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is like, I'm in flow, I'm in flow, I'm in flow. Then I realized that my mic was actually out of shot. And you probably would have heard absolutely none of it because it was nowhere near my mouth, right? Kind of something that you need when you're doing a podcast and you've got your mic plugged in. So just wanted to give you a little bit of insight on behind the scenes of what happens here when we're going, getting a little bit unapologetically wild. Uh, and it also feeds quite well into a bit of my day and how I want to come into this podcast and what I want to talk about today. I'll go into a little bit of backstory. My last week, and you would have heard on my podcast last week about my biggest fear. And so I've made some really big moves and really big decisions in the last week regarding, the army and what my plan is and all the things. So doing that, I then told my parents, I told my beautiful friends, I let some beautiful people know about the fact that I have decided that I'm going to finally leave the army and go into my business full time, which is amazing. So thank you, celebrating me, celebrating this uh, beautiful, beautiful time in my life. And although it's beautiful, it also has the other side, right? There's an ego death that comes with this. There's a whole identity shift because that's what I've been for 13 years. And it's just a lot to take in. And as if anyone knows, as with the army, it takes a few months to get out. So it's not right this second. Like when you make the decision, it's not like bam, but it also does open you up to allowing what's going to come through to keep you moving to that next level, right? So anything that's going to bubble up and it needs to be released, needs to be moved so I can move into that next level is going to happen. So that's been a lot of allowing, a lot of being with my beautiful friends and family who are fully supportive and so, so beautiful, which was actually amazing because, I was living a lot of old stories about maybe people wouldn't be, it's a very safe job, all the things. And it's funny how you can live in these stories and then when you actually tell people and they're super excited and they were like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, because you've seemed a little bit lost. And I have been holding on to this, all in divine timing, all the right time for me, right? Everyone was waiting for me to make the decision when it was right for me because this is important, right? You need to be ready. It's not about anybody else. And so making the decision was really big and beautiful. And like I said, it's been a really emotional up and down week. And I woke up this morning and I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have any energy. I just want to cry. I just want to be with things. And I had a quick chat to my mentor and did all the things and then was like, I am just going to give myself more self-care. And if you follow me on social media, yesterday I did a sauna for myself and a few other things that were honoring me. And then today I woke up thinking, I've got as everyone does, a massive to-do list, right? It's huge. And what I've learned in this part of my life is that, old me would have gone out and started just doing the list, like just been like, suck it up, bitch, let's go, let's do the list. Like, let's start at the top. You've got so many things to do. And as I've grown in business, as I've grown as a woman, as I've grown older, all of those things, right? And I've realized that always ends up in burnout. If it's to do with exercise, it ends up with me injured, it ends up with me sick, it ends up with me all the things, right? Anxious, just like no energy. And we all know energy is our biggest commodity. So if we're going to keep doing the things, we need energy to do it, right? So if you have no energy and then you're trying to push it out, you're just going to force yourself to end up in a heap, which we all know. We all know what burnout, well, you might not, but if you do, you understand what I'm talking about, is that burnout is not a place where we want to end up. And so in this in mind, what I want to talk about to you today is what I ended up choosing to do, which was self-care, which then I want to lead into a little bit about how you build self-confidence and how you also build that through self-trust. So that's what we're going to go into today. But this was just a beautiful segue. Of course it is, because I get to teach you from my own life experience, right? This is why I love life coaching, success coaching, all of these things, is because it's lived experience for me and I get to share it with you. And if it resonates with you and you also are like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone, I also go through this, right? so beautiful when we get to connect on that level. And I would love for you to reach out, honestly, anytime, Instagram, all of it on here as a comment. I love going and checking if people have comments. So yeah, I'd love to talk to you about this. And you can easily DM me. So why I want to talk about this is because this morning, like I said, I woke up and the old me would have done the things, would have just been like, I've got to do the things, right? Because if I want to be wealthy, if I want to do the things in business, think about it. If you want to make money, you do the thing. And same with fitness. You want to get fit, you do the thing, you go to the gym. And yes, to a degree, absolutely. Discipline, all of that, we'll come into that in a moment. But there also is the thing of, if I don't have energy to do something, why am I going to push myself to do it? Because then we end up in burnout. So it's working out that balance for you, also honoring what you need at the time. So instead of getting up and doing the thing like I would have, I asked myself, what would honor me in this moment? And this is a really big question, as we spoke about last episode 4, unsure, but we talk about, self-care, self-compassion, all things. And so what honored me in that moment was, I was like, I'm going to reach out to my mentor. So I, left her a voice note, had a chat, and then I decided to go and have a shower, cook breakfast, have coffee, sit out in nature, really just enjoy the view of the pool and the sky and beautiful things while I had my coffee in the morning. All of the things that I actually really enjoy, and they nourish me, not only with the food of energy, but and coffee and allowing myself to have a shower, to feel like, when you just have a shower and it feels so good to be clean. It's just something about it. Like, honestly, I can now understand, and I actually never really got this before, but when you slowly start to degrade in your mental health, if you've ever had anything like that, or you've been depressed or any of the things, it's really not a nice feeling. You end up, the little things are really hard, right? That what happens is, like, taking a shower or brushing your teeth, or like things that we find are super easy to do when we feel good and when we feel, totally in line with our life and all the things, or we have energy even to a small capacity, that stuff's quite easy. But it's very easy to fall off when we don't have the energy, we don't have all of this, ability to do the things, because once your mental health starts to drop, it really can have a big effect on this. So anyway, really weird side tangent, but I went and had a shower, washed my hair, and that was really nice, right? I was like, okay, I feel much better, did all the things, shaved my legs, all the things. And I was like, oh, I feel good. I feel clean. I feel lovely. But I'm like, I'm still feeling emotional. So I'm going to allow my emotions to come, allow them to flow. I'm going to do some journaling, which was really nice. And then I was like, because I actually felt like journaling, because sometimes I don't actually feel like journaling. And I sat at my altar in the morning, and that felt good to a degree. And once it kind of got to a point where I was like, okay, I also would like to do more things that nourish me, I allowed that too. And that's really beautiful, because it meant that instead of doing all the things, which is, like I said, what I would have done, I was nourishing myself. I was actually giving myself energy, which is crazy, right? When you think about, you do the things that actually make you feel good, you're actually allowing your body to refill like a cup. So you're pouring into your own cup and you're starting to refill, and your body's starting to find more energy to do the things, which then led to things like the washing and, things that maybe, don't excite me, but know that once I do them, they'll feel good, because then I get to wear the clothes and all the things, right? There's all these beautiful outcomes to this. And so then I was like, okay, I'm going to go get my nails done, because that's going to make me feel really nice. And I haven't had them done in a really long time. And I really love the energy of the place that I go to. And so all of these things, as I slowly built up, was like giving me more and more energy to do what I wanted to do today, which every Monday I say to myself, I will definitely do my podcast, right? This is my non-negotiable. And it's because it's a day where I have freedom and time to allow myself to do the things that I want to do. So with that, I was like, okay, at some point today, we're going to do a podcast. And obviously washing my hair will make me feel good, have my nails done. That's always nice. And it, being on here, it's nice to feel good in your appearance, and also honor the fact that I journaled and I'd allowed myself to cry and release. And I'm not saying there's not still, things that will come out more tonight, but this is the beautiful thing of big moves, is that this ebbs and flows. Like, this doesn't look like this. Like, it doesn't go, oh, we just had a big cry and now it's done. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we just had a big release, we're good. Oh, we had a big lot of fun and joy and now we feel amazing. It doesn't always work like that. So it's really nice that it ebbs and flows. However, the one thing that I've found that has been beautifully built in my life through army, through playing sport as a kid, thanks to my mum, I love that she allowed me to get into sports and stuff, is it built discipline and not. And this is the beautiful thing about it, because obviously I would do. I'm really good at that and really good at actually putting my emotions, everything aside so I can do. Great in some aspects, not great in others, right? Because then we start to avoid, disconnect, and we don't allow ourselves to feel and do the things. So, the part of this I want to speak about is self-confidence, and how a lot of people think that self-confidence is like you always feel amazing when you go and do something. And let's be honest, self-confidence is a couple of things to me, very different to other people maybe, but to me, it's about coming into one, doing the thing that scares you and doing it anyway. To be honest, the only way you get better at something is by doing it when you're shit and then just continually doing it, and you're only going to get better. You can't get worse. And I'm sure someone out there will be like, I have, once I got worse. You know what? You probably got better if you did it again. And so this is the thing. It's like a muscle, and we get to keep doing the thing. And that will build confidence in doing the thing, right? This podcast, first time I came on, I was like, oh. And, each time I do it, I'm building the muscle to get better at being on a podcast, of talking about, sharing my story, about, allowing you to be a part of my journey, which is really, really beautiful. And so this is really, really important because it builds self-confidence. But the other piece to this is self-trust. Now, it's funny, self-trust is something that a lot of us don't realize. We break our own trust all the time. We actually, by saying we're going to do the thing and then we don't do it, we then don't trust our own word. And that's really, really big, because if you don't trust in your own word, you're not going to have confidence that you're going to do it, because you don't trust yourself. And so there's so many times in my life, and I've lived this so many times, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it, but I would tell myself I'd do the thing. I'd be so exhausted that I couldn't get the thing done, or I'd do the thing and then I'd feel like shit. But most of the time it went the other way, and I'd get, so many of the things done. I'd also way overcommit, right? So I'd commit to way too many things. And then that meant that I couldn't get the whole list done, because, and you're with me here, you're an overachieving woman. You've written a list that's like 20 things long. You're like, I'm going to get all this done today. Absolutely not. You either know it's going to take forever, or you misjudge something, or something else comes up, or, things happen all the same, or you just genuinely have put way too much in a day. And that would probably be better for a week, or 2 weeks, or whatever the thing is. And what happens is you end up like not building trust, because you, like, your body's like, well, you said you would do all these things, you didn't do it. And so you start to build a little bit of a story in your brain where you're like, well, I don't trust that we're going to get all that done. Or maybe you say you're going to go to the gym 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then you decide on Wednesday you don't feel great and you don't go. And so you're continuously cutting yourself off at the knees, because you are saying, I'm going to do the thing, and then you don't do it. And so you're no longer trusting that your word is exactly what you're going to do. So, if you're not trusting your own word for yourself, how are you going to do it for other people? So then you make a commitment, right? And you say, I'm going to go and do this thing with you on this day, right? Then you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't want to do it. Or you decide that there's something else on that's better, and you decide to go to that instead. And you're like, sorry, mate, I can't come. Got something else on. Something's popped up. And this continuous thing where you're no longer building trust in a relationship with somebody else, it can be a friend, it can be a parent, it can be all the things, right? And there's so many times I've broken this trust and not actually committed to the thing that I said I would go and commit to do with someone. As you are learning to do this for yourself, because you're breaking trust with yourself, you're actually then learning to do it in relationship with other people. And what happens when you don't trust yourself? Well, if you don't trust yourself, you're not going to be confident to do the thing, because you haven't built the trust and honored the things that you actually said that you would do. And it's amazing because there's so many nuances to this, right? Like, there's so much where we overcommit all the time. We say yes to things that we actually genuinely don't want to do. How many times have you said, oh yeah, I'd love to come, and then you're like, everything in your body is saying, fuck No, I don't want to go to that. You don't need to have a reason as well. You can just say, sorry, no, I can't come. Or not even sorry. No, I can't make it. But it's so many times when we commit to the thing that we don't want to do, or we commit to something and then we make up an excuse and we then no longer have a trustworthy word. Like no one's going to trust our word after that, right? They're always going to make these comments of like, oh, they might turn up. Who knows? Who knows when they'll get here? Same things with timings. Sometimes we're like, oh, we'll be there by 7. And then you fluff around and you don't get there and you get there by 7:30 and then you become the person that's always late. And trust me, I've been that person. And you're not honoring your word to the other person in the relationship. And you're also not honoring your word to yourself because you've made a commitment. And look, things happen sometimes. But if you're starting to see this as a constant trend and you're not trusting in your abilities and you're not trusting your own word, or if you can think about this for somebody else, then think about if it's happening to you. Because also, people are a mirror of us, right? So if other people are doing it to you, you're also doing it because everyone is a mirror of us in our universe. So then you're not going to have confidence that you're going to do the thing, are you? Right? So how do you allow yourself to have the energy to do the thing? If you honor all the other things in your day, allowing yourself to give yourself energy when you need it. So I knew I was going to do this today, right? I was 100% committed. The only big thing, actually, I always have 2 things on my, I'm going to talk about this in a second, but I have 2 things on my list, right? Every day. And if I get them done, I celebrate them. Now, this came from an incredible mentor, old mentor. And I love this because it's like a dump list. So she taught me to make a dump list. So you write down everything you need to do. And then you go away, come back a couple of times, like give yourself a 10-minute break and cross off the things that actually don't need to be done. It's amazing how much crap is in our head and how much we think needs to be done. And it absolutely doesn't. Like, it's like maybe something we could do in 2 weeks or a week, or it actually really doesn't have to be done right now. And so what happens is it kind of condenses down, and normally and she would say, make it 2 things. So once you get those 2 things done, you're like, fuck yeah, I did it. Woo, woo, woo. Like it's party time, right? And you're like, fuck yeah, right? I did the 2 things. One of 2 things will happen here. Either you're so proud of yourself and you've done 2 things, which is probably more than you would have got done if you had overthought it or done the thing, or you had said you were going to do 100 things and then no longer do you trust yourself because you can't keep up with what you said you would do. You don't honor your word. And you're going to feel amazing because you did 2 things and you're like, yes, 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 right? So that's a great day. Tick, your day is amazing. Whatever happens, you've accomplished the 2 things that you wanted to get done in a day. Second thing that can happen is that you may then go and do 100 other things that you didn't even have on your list, or you might have had on your list, but you have so much energy and you're not putting the pressure on yourself to get them done. You just automatically do them. The amount of days that has happened to me where I've like been like, okay, there is 1 or 2 things that I'm going to get done today. Most of the time I say 2 because it's the beautiful practice and honestly, it's amazing. And the 2 things are normally, they can be tiny too. Like sometimes mine are like, I'm going to cook myself breakfast and make myself coffee. And I get up in the morning, make coffee, cook breakfast. And I'm like, what a day, girl. Fuck, I'm proud of you. And you might be like, well, that's just normal stuff. What defies that has to be celebrated? What actually defies that, what it has to be, how big it has to be, what it has to be, all the things. Because you know what I've just done? I've literally said what I'm going to do, the 2 things. I have built trust in myself because I've done them. And my internal story is I trust that I'm going to do the things that I say I'm going to do. Right? You want to build self-confidence, you build self-trust, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, fuck, I'm good. I said I was going to do this and I did it. So now I have more trust in my ability of what I say I'm going to do. I'm actually going to fucking do it. Which also leads into discipline, right? Because then what happens is if I didn't really have a plan, so today I got them done. Well, I'm getting them done. Clearly one is here, one is this, so it's not quite done yet. But this is building trust in myself, which will then build confidence in my ability to make a decision of what I'm going to do and in doing the thing. And then I consistently do it and I build a habit and then and that's through the fact that I am a disciplined person and I said I'm going to do it on the day. Now, I didn't actually give myself a timing. This is the other thing. When you want to do things, sometimes, unless like you literally only have a small, minute time that you can get it done, like that's very different, right? But if you don't and you have a whole day, and let's say you have plans, or maybe you don't, maybe you, like, because obviously I have to walk my dog, I don't always plan it. Sometimes I walk her in the morning, sometimes I walk her in the afternoon, sometimes it just depends. And it means that you have a plan, right? Very loosely, you're going to do these two things, right? So let's go with my first example. You're going to make a coffee and you're going to cook yourself breakfast. Obviously, most of the time you'd think that would happen in the morning. Doesn't really matter. What if I want to cook breakfast for lunch? What if, I can change it up? What I mean is that you can do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it because you're alive. Nobody can dictate what that looks like. But when you start to build that self-trust and you're like, okay, I say I'm going to do this and I end up doing it. Oh, I'm confident in myself and I build this self-trust. This is also the discipline muscle. And so we're like looking at, cool, we're building self-care because you're actually taking care of yourself by giving yourself energy, doing the things that are going to honor you. And then you're actually allowing yourself to build self-trust and you're keeping yourself disciplined by doing it every week or whatever it is. So for the example, this podcast, I would say I'm going to do it every Monday. I have no particular plan on what time that looks like, on, when in the day, all the things. I just allow myself to look after my energy first, give myself the energy, and also as a generator, I respond. That is my thing. So it means that I get to consume or be with around people or around information, and I get to respond to that, which is what I deliver my podcast on, is things that have happened in my day or in my week or in my month or whatever I've seen around to share with you. And so that gives me space and freedom for there to be no pressure and there to be no real, problem with me getting it done any time of the day. And so it means that now I'm on a podcast with you. I have energy, I have vitality, I know what I want to talk about, and I've given myself the space to allow this to be free flowing and just be with what it's meant to be. And I think it's really beautiful. And a lot of people will talk about this saying, like, you're in the hustle. We all, if we're honest here, high performing women are always in the hustle to start with, right? We need to learn what that is like. And we also need to understand what discipline is and all of the things. If you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're used to allowing, then you get to move into like working out the discipline and being, able to make sure you keep a commitment, right? So that's the other side if you need to build that muscle. But a lot of people who have been in the hustle and women who have been, doing the thing all the time need to go the other way. And look, we get to swing the pendulum and eventually we find the balance. And we have to keep finding the balance, right? Because we're always going to keep going back to our original. So it's like, how do you then come into, yes, there's something I need to do, right? Yes, I'm going to do these two things today. There's two things I need to do. I'm going to do them today. I'm going to allow the space for me to do them when I have the energy and I feel connected and ready to do them. It's a really beautiful, beautiful piece. And so I want you to sit with that. I want you to actually think about it in your day. How many times have you said to yourself, you're going to do all these things, you haven't done them, and you've actually broken trust with yourself? And then I want you to think about how that actually affects your confidence in doing the thing. And actually can relate to any area of your life, right? Because let's be honest, we know that every part of your life impacts another part of your life, which, if we come back to the original thing, was why I had to make a really big decision to move on from the military. And in that, we get to be with all of who we are in all of this process, right? Because when we go into allowing, there's going to be times when we allow so much time that we actually never get the thing done because we're like, oh, I'm in the flow of my feminine energy and I love it and it's juicy and it's hot and it's, right? Like when we're in that energy, it's like, It's like, girl, sometimes you want to do nothing. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in such feminine flow before that literally I don't want to do a thing. And that is beautiful in its creation and it's beautiful in its energy. However, not so handy when you're in business and you need to get some things done. So that's why allowing 2 things a day means that it also actually allows you to be in your creative flow and energy in essence, because those 2 things aren't going to take up your whole day, right? So you get to then flow in and out of the masculine and the feminine. You get to allow yourself to be in both. You get to really be with what you actually need to be with in that moment. I think this is really beautiful because that's where we build our self trust. That's where we build our self confidence. And then when we walk out and we're like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Do the thing and you feel amazing because you've actually honored yourself in the process. So, building energy. 1, make sure you allow yourself to have self care. And that looks different to everybody. And we've spoken about this before. And I think you get to work out what self care looks like for you. It can be a 5-minute practice, it can be an hour practice, it can be with other people, like going getting your nails done, getting your hair done. It can be, having a shower. It can be sitting in meditation. It can be journaling. There are so many things that honor you. And also having lots of tools in your tool belt mean that you don't do the same thing every time. You get to pull from your tool belt and say, cool, I want to, or I feel like in this moment doing this thing. So that's the allowing piece of the feminine. You choose what feels good for you. You allow yourself to be open to the fact that you have many tools in your toolbox to choose from, and you also get to feel supported and loved in that for yourself. Then when you start to build some more energy, you do the things that you promised yourself you would do. Only 2. I would say never go over 2 things, ever. Because guess what? If you're meant to do more in the day, you will. But when you start to celebrate those 2 things, even if they're super small, they can be massive as well, right? Like, obviously, you can play with this dynamic. You can make them medium things, whatever. Some days my things are bigger than others. Some days my things are really small because I'm like, you know what? That's just what we get to be with today. And every day is different, right? So it's about living in an intentional way. And that is intentional because you're choosing the 2 things that you want to honor in that day that are probably your most important, I would say, out of priority, and or not. It depends. And so when you do those things, you celebrate them. You are like, fuck yes. And you're in this amazing energy because you've accomplished the 2 things. Instead of, if you think of the opposing energy of writing a list of 20 things, only getting 15 done, and then feeling like absolute shit because you can't do all the things you said you were going to do, right? And that makes you feel worse. And then you're not confident that you can keep up to your own promises. So it's like, cool. What are the 2 things I want to honor today? That doesn't mean the rest of the list isn't there. I still have lists on my phone that are very, very long. Do I go into them? Absolutely not. Sometimes I go in there to check and see the 2 things I want to get done if I actually don't have 2 things that I can think of that day. But most of the time, they're in there and they're just there so that I can go and refer to them when I want to. However, they are not staring me down, being like, you have to get me done right now, otherwise you will be a failure. Because how many times have you thought that? You've written so many bloody things and then all of a sudden you don't get them done, so you feel like a failure, right? Not really something we want to continuously put in our subconscious, so we keep feeling like we fail and we don't actually honor and celebrate ourselves. So, how can you allow yourself to pick 2 things a day to get done? Celebrate yourself. That can just be like, fuck yeah, I'm awesome. Do you know what I mean? You can go and have a glass of champagne. You can make it fancy. You can make yourself a fancy meal. You can go and get your nails done. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can actually make it something like that. However, all it needs to be is literally you being like, I'm so proud of you. I love you. And this is how I'm loving you, by celebrating the fact that you got these 2 things done. Like, it's so simple. And this is the other thing. All of this is the simple stuff. It's interesting. I hear lots of, women talk about the fact that there's so many big things they want to do. But do you know what gets you to the big thing? Doing all the little things well and honoring yourself in the little stuff, in the small things. This is what I love about coaching women, because I get to see what you're doing. I love also being an outsider, because this is why I have a mentor as well. they can see the blind spots. So, I can see your blind spots and I can pick the small things that are going to shift, maybe only seem like small shift each day, but they make fucking I don't even know what the word is. I can't even say it. Absolutely massive. I wanted a bigger word than that, but anyway, we're going with massive because it's all that came out right now. Which is all perfect. A massive, like, shift in the long term. Because what happens is these small little things have a compounding effect. So you trust in yourself for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 days. You start to have a little bit more confidence. You might walk a little bit more with your chest up and your fucking shoulders back. All these little things, tiny little minute things that I get to help, I love helping women with, make a big difference to how they see themselves with their self-love and self-worth. Just this one trick alone, you do this, fuck man, it'll change your life. Honestly, you will start to actually be more confident in all areas of your life. You will trust yourself deeper. You will trust yourself in honoring what you actually can do in a day, which is really important to your capacity. You actually can grow your capacity and you'll actually see how that starts to develop because it's so, so beautiful to allow these small things to just realize one day and wake up the compounding effect that you didn't even realize was happening from this very small thing. But you'll start to feel it and you'll be like, what is this, magic? Yes, it fucking is. The small things make a massive difference in your life. And that is what I'm here to help women do, is to make the small changes so that they can get everything they desire. And it makes a huge difference. And how do I know? Because I fucking lived it, right? How do I know? Because literally even today, the difference between me not going into hectic, get all the things done means that I'm not in burnout. And right now I get to deliver this to you, feeling energized, feeling excited, like wanting to be here. Not just because I put it on my list, right? And that's really beautiful. And I love to honor that. So allow yourself to try this tool and trust me, it will fucking change your life. Small things make a massive difference. It's not taking always the big step. That is also great too. And courage builds confidence as well. Like I said, taking big steps and holding yourself in that, also really beautiful. However, to start with your personal growth journey, or even just to start right now, make the small steps. I dare you to just do 2 things a day and celebrate yourself and see how much confidence you actually grow in. And you know what? It'll probably give you the confidence to do the big thing and take courageous action, because that's how I've lived my life. It's been the small, minute things that have compounded into massive opportunities and massive moments, and where I've met incredible people, that has given me the confidence to trust myself in taking a massive step in leaving the Defence Force. All of it helps. So try it. I would love to hear how it goes. And I hope you have the most magnificent week. And yeah, DM me. Get on my Instagram, DM me so I can hear all about it, because I want to celebrate you too. And I want to see how these small, minute changes have such a big compounding effect. I love you. Stay unapologetic, stay wild, and I fucking love you. Get it, girl.